In this video, we're helping Rob build a 300K a year personal brand using only LinkedIn and at 95% profit margins. Now, the stakes are high. Rob just quit his full-time job. He's currently sitting at 3 clients and just about making his existing salary previously, but he has a mortgage to pay, he has a missus to keep happy, and he wants to scale this business really fast without a team, without a VA, without contractors. Now, Rob, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so just to give a bit of background of my experience, for the last 6 years, I've been working for digital marketing agencies in growth roles. So initially I was a growth manager and then I progressed to a head of growth at my most recent agencies. My main skills lie in GTM engineering and building outbound systems. So systemizing that approach. So leveraging automation, leveraging tools like Clay and A10 to build systems which allow teams. The whole time I was working at that agency, I didn't have a team. It was just me. So I was having to experiment and find ways to do the work of like an SDR team or an account executive team by myself. So that's where my skill set lies.
Amazing. And for anyone else that didn't understand the technical jargon there, what Rob does is essentially sends cold emails on behalf of companies in order to book them in meetings. And he's doing this with very complex and technical workflows because right now in the cold email space, that is what's required to get results. Now, prior to this video, Rob filled out a form and told me his biggest problems. And there were 3 ones that stuck out. One was organic lead generation. He's already signed a few clients to your network, but now your only outlet is cold and you know that sales cycle is probably taking you 3-4 months from what it sounds like. You also know that if you can get LinkedIn to work, it's free, but your capacity is low and you need to make sure you don't churn anyone in that process. That second big problem is you need to have the time for LinkedIn. You're solo and you need to optimize efficiency and you have to deal with your existing clients. You've also told me that you don't have design skills, which most people don't in complete fairness, and you know that lead magnets are a thing and that you need to post to get clients, but you're not quite sure which ones are going to get you the results. And finally, you do want to make income through non-done-for-you offers. So these are things like coaching and consulting, and you would love to have a big enough audience to create a school or a course that doesn't require as much time and output, but you know that that's a longer term play. Did I capture that right? Was there anything I missed?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. LinkedIn, I see as a channel. If I can build my personal brand, obviously there's only so much capacity I have as a solopreneur, as we've already spoke about. If I can almost have this loop where I have like people reaching out to me, I put them on a wait list, and then I can reach back out to them if I lose a client. So having that, I feel like LinkedIn can provide security.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, I'm going to cut your bubble a little bit and tell you what your real problems are, because I get that you're saying that you have a lead generation problem, you have a time and a need problem, but having worked with around 200 LinkedIn accounts, I think you have some different problems. The first problem is I think that you're invisible completely. Like you could be the greatest cold email GTM expert in the world, and I know that you're amazing at what you do because we work together on some of my clients, and I can vouch for you, but no one knows you, and you're almost running off this idea of borrowed trust. So you're not going to get a client unless I refer it or someone else refers it to you in the network. There's also a huge problem for all big solopreneurs or solo consultants. I don't think this is like a completely unique problem to you, but they're effectively reliant on everyone that already knows them. So as a result, one bad quarter, you lose a couple clients and you're 50% down in income, which is a really scary thing when you have a mortgage to pay. I think the second thing is, and I'm going to be quite direct with you because I can, but I think you're avoiding organic lead generation. I think you know it's scary. I think you know it takes time. You know it takes time to get feedback signals. But because you're not following a playbook, it's become easy to doubt yourself, and then you're therefore taking it slower than you should. And I think just before this video, I asked Rob, like, do you think this is true? And he goes, yeah, but I know what did you say? It was like, I know LinkedIn takes time?
Yeah, so I know LinkedIn takes time.
Yeah.
So then ironically, then you get put off from it because you're not seeing those positive leading indicators correctly.
Yeah. So you then slow it down,
but you need to be fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this is a confidence thing. Like you don't have a playbook exactly what to do. So therefore you can't trust in a system.
Yeah.
So therefore you can't just like execute almost blindly, which some of my clients we execute blindly and we get the result. Because I don't know if you guys have watched Hormozi, but it's more about doing the process than getting the output.
Yeah.
So you think you need to play the game also of the agencies who have in-house designers, of competitors who have outsourced to ghostwriting agencies like ours. But ultimately you can have a playbook that works for you. And we lose out to some, profiles on the feed that are doing it all in-house because they're more authentic and they're better sometimes at speaking to their very specific customer. And then finally, I think you just need to be able to treat LinkedIn as a client. So you have your clients and then you have LinkedIn, but you also need to think of LinkedIn as a client and give it the same amount of time you would give someone that was paying you $3K a month.
Yeah, that's actually an issue I deal with where it's always the lowest priority.
Yeah.
So if I get a Slack message, I'm like, right, I need to deal with that first. And if I had the plan to work on that content, I would move it back. So that's very fair.
So let me tell you, LinkedIn is probably the best client you'll ever have in your life. And I'll say it in a simple way. One, it gives you immediate feedback. So you see what the impressions are straight away. You see the DM responses. Two, it will refer you an unlimited number of clients, which sounds crazy when you think about it, but it will give you an unlimited number of clients and it will never churn you. You will always churn it. So if you're able to fulfill for LinkedIn for 1 hour a day, do you not think that's like the best trade you could ever make for a client? And then finally, you mentioned a course, and I don't think you need a course yet. I think you just need more clients. And this is a problem that a lot of solo consultants have. They're at 25%, 50% capacity, and they're solving this future problem of, I'm going to run out of capacity, and I'm going to be capped in my revenue, and I'm not going to be able to scale. But firstly, at that number, you're probably making like 25K a month. So you're pretty happy. Two, with that revenue, you unlock the ability to invest into things. So you unlock the ability to maybe potentially outsource a little bit of the work. Or because you have a wait list, you can become, hey, I don't want to work with this client anymore. I'm going to win back those 3 hours, and then I'm going to create my school or my course. And finally, what you'll notice is that you don't need a big audience to sell a course or school, but you do need to have results that are really, really believable. So what ends up happening is the best people that do courses and schools do the done for you first, and they go down the done for you ladder. They go into done with you, and then they go into do it yourself, which is the low ticket course. And it's the same model we did in our business. We had a done for you agency. And as we hit capacity, we said, okay, now we need to do the done with you model. And we unlocked more profit and more capacity. And then we said, hey, we want to get more people into the done with you. Let's unlock a done yourself, which is the product or the course. That makes sense? So let's look at Rob's profile. Tell me a little bit about how you designed this and what you think about it now with everything that we've spoken about.
Yeah. So at the moment, right, it's unoptimized. Like I know it is. I know it is. I put this banner together like very quickly. I think it does the job, to be honest. I've got like a company profile, which I've literally just created.
Nice.
I wanted to keep my headline very simple. And you might correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think when you're trying to build a network and you're like, oh, I help X get 10 clients a week, I don't think that works anymore.
Yeah.
And people actually get put off. So I wanted to make the headline look authentic.
Yep.
And then I've written a short description, and that's about it. Right. Literally everything else is unoptimized.
Yeah.
And I know I need to treat this almost like a landing page, but I'm open to all advice here.
Amazing. Cool. And then we don't have any featured posts right now, which we will do.
I've removed actually 2 of them because they were from digital marketing. It just didn't make sense to have them.
Okay, awesome. So the very first bit of feedback I look at profiles is the words that they're using and who that person attracts. So if we look at his headline, he says founder of Easy Pitch. Again, I don't care about that too much. GTM engineering and outbound. What you're effectively saying is you need to know what GTM engineering is to buy from me. Is that true for your ICP?
Some would be aware, some wouldn't.
Okay.
So I take your point on board.
So that's a conscious decision, and it can be a good thing. This also qualifies the audience coming in. Like they know I need a GTM engineer.
So I think it's quite a sexy term at the moment, which is like one of the reasons I'm using it. And some people, some founders, when they see GTM, and you've seen job posts all the time coming up for GTM. So I do believe it's becoming more popularized as like an actual job in a business, right? So yeah, that's kind of my thinking behind having that.
Awesome, cool. And then if you look at the banner, I don't care about design. I think the design's actually pretty good, so well done. But it says pitch and sign your ideal customers on autopilot. Now, question, do you pitch clients and do you sign them for them on autopilot?
So the idea is kind of the reason I did that is because company name, I'm solopreneur, but I've got like Easy Pitch. The idea is I'm easily able to like help you pitch. So pitch over email or whatever channel you're using, LinkedIn, or like connecting other marketing channels together. So, outbound works with other channels instead of like against them, so to speak. So that was the idea there. Now, semantics here, you could say that pitching is literally being in front of someone and pitching a proposal deck, right? I'm taking the stance here that the pitch is part of that, like having an offer over email and attracting someone to book a call.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. Sweet. So I'm happy with that as well. So what we can do is to make this better is to really focus on the outcome that you service. And you mentioned a few times in this call that you automate SDRs, or that you automate a function, you book cold meetings, you book meetings. Tell me a little bit of like, what is the exact outcome that a client gets when they work with you?
So the exact outcome would be meetings booked.
Okay.
So I'm not like you almost can't directly attribute revenue.
Yeah.
I guess you can, but like it's up to them to close. And also a secondary outcome is efficiency. So let's say they had like a team of 5 SDRs. They were, booking 10 calls a month.
Yeah.
And then they hired me instead. They got rid of their SDRs, right?
Yeah.
And they were still booking 10 calls a month. That is a win in my books.
Yeah.
So they're still efficient, and they've literally, their profit margins have gone up ridiculously. So that's like another secondary outcome, I think.
Perfect. Cool. So I would adjust or suggest that you adjust your headline to speak to the outcome a little bit more. So I'm happy with the word GTM engineering. I know it actually qualifies your audience quite well, but we can say founder at Easy Pitch, GTM engineering, that gets an outcome. And then you use that outcome for everything that you're selling. So if you are trying to book in meetings, let's talk about booking ideal customers. If you're saying that you want to help them automate an SDR, let's speak about that outcome as well, because that's the type of person you're going to attract because they desire that thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for example, you can have, and I'll do it for you over here, where you can have GTM engineering that books meetings on autopilot. And so we have this, there's a bit of assumption here that the quality is questionable just by those words. We can have GTM engineering that books ideal prospects onto your calendar. So the fact that we're saying it this way, we're speaking to the desire of all your clients. And I imagine, by the way, all your clients are paying you money because they want meetings in their calendar.
Yeah.
So we need to speak to that desire pretty clearly. And you can just adjust the semantics of this however you see fit to adjust how qualified it feels or how much volume it feels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would want to change there or like sort of make your headline on?
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure with the headline, if I'm completely honest. I try, what I wanted to do when I was writing this headline, the GTM engineering and outbound, I just wanted to keep it nice, short and concise without trying to look like a salesy profile. So that was like my goal with it.
Yeah. So yeah, I typically find that when you try to sell a little bit, you end up getting meetings booked in as long as you say the outcome out loud.
Yeah.
So just have the outcome as a simple sentence at the end of it, but keep the GTM engineering. When you appear in the comments, it's going to look like that first section over there. So you're not going to come across as salesy.
Okay, cool.
But once someone looks at your profile, they understand that's what you do.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I didn't actually know that. Yeah.
And then on your banner, you also want to replicate the exact language you have here as you have there.
Okay.
So you want to use the same language. So you want to be very congruent on your profile.
Yeah.
Cool. Make sense?
Yeah. That's
Sweet. Cool. And then on your featured post, you want to basically have, again, the same text that you have over here as a single banner so they can click through to your website and they can visit whatever you're doing. The number one way to get clients on LinkedIn is through inbound content. So you need to be posting regularly on your feed, showing off your case study, showing off your point of view, showing off your opinions so that you can attract clients inbound. So the number one thing that Rob needs to do now is to start creating content on his profile in order to attract those ideal clients in. Now, I've done some research on the inspiration accounts you sent me. We looked at Michael Lieben, we looked at Dan M. Rosenthal, we looked at Adam from Retention B2B, we looked at Jordan Crawford, we looked at Eric Nowalski, if I pronounce his name right, looked at Tom Granger. And out of all those accounts, I identified 4 specific pillars that you should be doing in your content in order to get more leads. Now, the very first one is called the How I Booked and Tactics content pillar. So here we want to be showcasing proof with you saying literally this is how I booked a number of meetings for my clients, but then also showing the mechanism and the tactic behind it. And I'm going to show you exactly how that happens in the feed. So if we look at this post by Fivos, he said, we booked 121 meetings 1 month after going live. Here's the exact system that we built. And he gives us step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 system. You can do the exact same thing, but just change your hook to whatever result you ever got for a client in the past before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sweet, cool. The second type that I've seen this work really well with is Michael Lieben's content, which is absolutely killing it on LinkedIn. And he says, this inbound workflow books us an extra plus 25 meetings every month. And here's how we do it. And again, it's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. In this model, yeah, he has a really complicated diagram. I don't think you need to do it in order to get the result. You can simply just state that as a post.
Yeah. So that's one of like the scary things is like often these packed infographics where you just see performance so well. I honestly think people just get bamboozled. They're like, oh, this looks really like cool.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip what's actually happening in this space. And it's actually pillar 2, which is the GTM stack and the system. If you look at these posts by Michael Lieben and you look at the posts similar by Dan Rosenthal, who also used to work at Cold IQ, they actively try to overload the reader because it makes the reader feel like they don't know everything that's going on, but also that there's something new happening.
Yeah.
And that creates a feeling of uncertainty. And then they need to go to someone to solve that uncertainty.
That's exactly the feeling. Sometimes I get like doing this when I'm like, oh, this, and then I look and I'm like, actually, that doesn't work to my system. But yeah.
Exactly. So you can make a conscious decision now whether you can have this GTM stack as a complicated system or you can simplify this system for the reader. So you'll look at, for example, this post, he says 36 platforms to find prospects across any niche. I mean, like, that's pretty damn crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can think about probably like 15 different sources, but I can imagine there's loads that I don't know about. And this is basically creating a gap in the reader that you haven't used Telescope. Why have you not used it before?
Yes. Yeah.
So that GTM stack can be, a listicle of 26 data sources. It can be 20 new GTM tools or AI agents that have hit the market. It can also be a stack and a workflow that you've seen other players do.
So for instance, Clay in itself is like 100 tools. So
yeah,
for all, and NA10. So could it be like specific features within a tool set as well?
Exactly. You can list out features. All we're trying to do here is showcase complexity and showcase volume. So I had a client the other day who went pretty decently semi-viral with a post that he said, here's 26 AI agents that have just hit the market. And he was speaking to a person at a very, very big company that is about to IPO. And that's the sort of person he was attracting in. Our next post is going to say 52 AI agents because we know their idea works. It's just going to increase the complexity and the volume. And that's exactly what they've done there. They found it worked on 10 and they've just gone to 20, 36. And it's creating, hesitancy in yourself, but you can do it any way that you want to do it. It will still work at lower volumes.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Sweet. Cool. The third pillar that, Rob, you should be doing is strong opinions. Now, here's the issue with GTM engineering and cold outbound. It's probably the most saturated niche on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
In the sense that everyone's selling a cold outbound solution, everyone's selling a cold outbound tool, and that is mainly what LinkedIn is for. So you need to be able to get attention. And typically the two ways that people get attention is by showing off some crazy results, i.e. we booked 120 meetings in a month, or we just hit 6 million ARR, which you've probably seen those hits on the feed before. Or you can say something that actually stands for what you believe in. So you could actually come out with a post that says, hey, look, I don't believe you need 36 data sources. You only need 4. And that creates contrast. And that contrast allows you to attract attention. It gets you impressions and it gets you character. And the person that appreciates that will come in as an inbound character.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that can work well because I actually do probably deep down have a lot of strong opinions about some of the practices.
Yeah.
In terms of tech stack, and I think I probably have a lot of posts in my head right now that I could do on that.
Exactly. And we have like Jordan Crawford who's like really, really good at this. I think most of his comments on the feed are just like shit posting everybody else. Yeah. Because this is all you need to make your sales messaging not suck. Like that's quite strong evocative language already. And he's like sitting in a car recording a video.
Looks authentic.
It looks authentic. It feels natural. And the most interesting thing is that he's having an opinion about something. You also have this post here by Tom Granger where he says, a CMO told me something that confirmed my thoughts. I can smell an AI written email from a mile away, delete. A lot of cold email engineers and cold outbound agencies have built their whole idea of the fact that everything's going to be done with AI, but everywhere secretly deep down, we know it smells of AI and it's not replyable. Yeah. So you can have a strong opinion here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, AI copywriting for cold email does not work.
Exactly. And then pillar 4 is, you mentioned it correctly, it's personable content that shows off your business growth. And the idea is to be relatable and likable. And you mentioned it previously that that personal content does really well on LinkedIn. Like Fiverr said, I'm living in the same house with my co-founder. It's not really about the business. Now you have 2 options here. You can make it more personal and then you will attract people like you. So if you make it more about how you're growing your solo business, you're going to attract solopreneurs.
Yeah.
If you make it about how I'm growing my agency, you're going to start to attract agencies.
Yeah.
So you can choose the personal lens with which you create content to attract the ideal customer in. So if you want to attract more agencies, you say, this is how I'm growing my agency. This is how I'm filling my agency clients.
Yeah.
Or if you want to just simply speak about business without speaking about the person behind it, you can just speak about how you signed a new client, how you're helping them get more meetings booked, and the milestones you're personally hitting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I notice as well in the cold email and GTM space especially, is everyone like comments on each other. They built like this mini network within LinkedIn, and I think that proliferates. So if you're in the club, like I'm going to give you so it feels like people are commenting and engaging. Not obviously they haven't got a plan to do it, but it just naturally happens when you build that type of content.
Exactly. Awesome. Sweet. So let's give you some quick wins to get your results pretty quickly. So one is your viral lead magnet. I know you've tried them before and you've done results, but the first and best idea I have for you is take your best ever case study. What is it? Is it a few hundred meetings a month? What is the sort of numbers we're talking about here?
What would work better? I know we're talking about meetings, but in terms of, because when I was working at a digital marketing agency, like obviously there was, I signed the clients as well. Mm-hmm. Could say revenue as well. What would you think works best?
Whatever has the bigger numbers. If you can talk about 20, 30 meetings a month booked, if you can speak about closing 100K in revenue, which over a certain time frame, we take that proof as the hook, and then we give away a resource which explains how you got that result.
Yeah. So I don't know the exact numbers. I'd have to like search back, but I've had months where we booked between somewhere between 30 to 40 meetings.
Correct. Awesome.
Not 120 like some bizarre. So, but yeah. So that's what I've been able to do before. And I can also say revenue figures. So I think on like a good month, we brought in terms of MRR, we brought in 15K, which was quite good for that agency we're at because it was relatively in 1 month we brought in 15K.
Awesome. So you can have a post that says, we brought in 15K MRR for our agency in 30 days. This is exactly what we did to bring it in. And it didn't take a huge engineering team and it didn't take a whole SDR team. And then you can explain how you did it and then give away the resource in the back end.
Okay.
The second cool thing that you can do is an announcement post. You haven't announced to the world that you are now a solopreneur and that you are serving clients. So you can do a post that says, hey, I've just quit my job and I've created a GTM engineering agency, and use that to attract in clients and give them your story in the background. And the third quick win you can do is announcement DM. So you can DM your network to ask them, hey, do you have any clients you could refer me for my new business? So you're specifically not asking for the meeting with them, but if they know anyone else that might be interested in your services. What I typically find is that that person says, oh, actually, I could use that service, but they didn't see it as salesy or pitchy. And then you get the response or you get a referral.
That's smart. Yeah.
Awesome. So in this video, we helped Rob focus on a single niche or ICP, which was agencies. We helped him focus his content pillars and we gave him some quick wins to get results. Rob, what are your main takeaways from this?
So I know now I really need to be more targeted, right? So deciding on LinkedIn whether I need to be targeting agencies or SaaS. So I need to make that decision. I think I'm likely swaying towards agencies just because that's where I've had the majority of my experience. So I can build content off that.
Yeah.
I also realized that my profile needs a lot of work. And I can't be too scared about, not having a designer to do posts for me. I've just got to post more often and treat LinkedIn like a client, which I think is really smart. I think I'm just going to block out like an hour in the morning every day, and potentially have like a session on the weekends to cope with the workload, because there is a lot of copywriting and I want it to be authentic. I don't want to use AI for the copywriting. And then finally, those content pillars. So I think I was like thinking about the content from where, and the way you spoke about it, like especially with the stuff on the tech stack where they're trying to overload and these tactics, I haven't really seen it in that way. I'm seeing it as like, oh, they're providing loads of value, but in actuality, there's a clever method behind what they're doing. So yeah, those content pillars will be really, really, really useful for me when I go to approach the content, and I can do like a post, on each of those content pillars per week if I can, or a few more maybe on the tactics and versus personal achievements. But yeah, that's been really helpful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you want to have a LinkedIn growth session like this, potentially in person, I'll leave a link in the comments down below where you can grab a chance to apply for a session. There's limited spots and we can see what happens there. If you want to grab this Notion page of all of Rob's tips and tricks, just click the link down in the description below.